Hello everyone, welcome to Basic Science Series. I'm your host and today we will be discussing one of the important topic of the parasitology, which is modes of transmission. As you can see on the computer screen that I've discussed some of the important modes of transmission, the parasites associated with that particular mode of transmission, and then also some of the vectors. Let me tell you one thing, these specific examples, they are very important, and I want you to understand what are the different routes and how these particular parasites they are going to enter inside our body. So without any delay, let's jump on to the lecture part. Alright, let's start with the topic. So we are discussing parasitology in general, and specific topic that today we are discussing is the modes of transmission, specifically focusing on the parasites. I have covered some of the important topics of parasitology. This is specifically focused on the mode of transmission. We have covered sources. So here what happens is through oral and faeco-oral route, parasite can enter inside our body. Means if we consume something which is contaminated with parasite, it could be water, it could be soil, it could be anything that can enter in our body through our mouth. We can eat contaminated food, we can drink contaminated water. So cycle of this particular parasite, which is via the oral and faeco-oral route, what will happen is we see the water is contaminated with the parasite, that is going to infect the humans. Further, human is going to secrete the parasite, and then it again going back into the water via the fecal matter. So you can see this cycle is going to continue. And then what are the examples that are going to follow this particular cycle? One is Ascaris lumbricoides is one of the important example of transmission through this particular route. Next, penetration of the skin. Means if the skin gets damaged due to any injury or due to any other reason, what can happen is parasite get the opportunity to enter inside our body. So suppose this is the wound, and now open wound is there, and parasite can enter through that particular open wound. So this becomes another avenue for the parasite to enter inside our body. So penetration specifically in the larval form is one of the key feature of this particular mode. An example for this is hookworm. Even if you just walk on a contaminated soil barefoot, you can get this particular infection by the hookworm. Next is the Strongyloides is another example. And then another mode of you can say subtype in this particular mode of transmission could be via blood-sucking insects. They can also penetrate the skin and transmit the parasite. You have an example of Plasmodium and Leishmania. They can be transmitted via the insect vectors. So these are some of the important examples. We have discussed the oral-feco-oral route and then penetration by the skin. Next is the sexual contact. So via sexual contact, you can also get the parasite. An example for that particular parasite, first let me write it down, sexual contact. The example is Trichomonas vaginalis is a very important parasite that can be transmitted through the sexual contact. Now, some other parasite can also be transmitted by this particular mode of transmission. Example can include Giardia and Entamoeba also. So these are some of the parasites that can be transmitted through the sexual contact, but one of the important parasite is the Trichomonas vaginalis. Another mode of transmission is the vectors. So fourth one is the bite of the vectors. If a particular vector bites the human body, it can specifically transmit the parasite. So insect bite is one of the important mode of transmission. Example is female Anopheles, where malaria parasite is getting transmitted. Then you have other vectors. So I'm going to list out all the examples, and you need to remember these examples. Sandfly is associated with Leishmaniasis. So Leishmania is going to get transferred by the sandfly. Next, tsetse fly. So the example SDS, CTS. Tsetse fly is another vector for an important infectious agent or important infection, parasitic infection, which is African sleeping sickness. Then you have Chagas disease. Redweed bug is one of the important vector for this particular disease. So these examples are very, very important when it comes to the mode of transmission. So I want you to remember these particular examples. You can make notes of these particular examples, and you can get direct questions in various competitive exams. And if you know the answer, it will be just direct. You don't need to analyze or interpret anything. This is most likely is going to the memory based questions. So you can see what are the different vectors, you can see the parasites, you can see the mode of transmission. So you need to remember all those examples that we are discussing in these videos. What we have discussed in this one is the Oral-feco-oral Route, where Ascaris lumbricoides is one of the important example. Penetration of the skin, which is hookworm, Strongyloides. Then we have discussed bite of the vectors, where female Anopheles, malaria, you have Leishmania, sandfly, we have discussed tsetse fly, African sleeping sickness, Chagas disease. So these are some of the, I would say, top parasitic diseases and their vectors. We have discussed the mode of transmission, and I hope in this video now it is clear that what are the mode of transmissions, what are their examples. So I'll cover more interesting videos and the topics in my upcoming videos. So if you are interested in parasitology, then I want you to stay tuned and watch all those videos. We will cover life cycles, we'll cover specific parasites, and it's going to be a nice interesting journey through the parasitology. So I'll meet you in my next video. Till then, take care.